I remember at 18 years old when I first started my career in sales, selling cookware door to door, my sales manager looked at me, he said, "Rene, there are only 6 ways that you make money. And anything that you do outside of those 6 activities is a complete and total waste of time." Now at 18 years old, I didn't ask any questions. I just did as I was told. And now we're looking at, 20 plus years later, and those same activities still apply. And so I'm going to run through what I call the 6 money-making activities for sales. And the real easy way to remember them is PAPCAR. PAPCAR is an acronym to help you remember the 6 steps. This isn't anything profound, this isn't anything new, but this is something that is often overlooked. And so the first activity that we engage in is very logically prospecting. Prospecting is the activity of generating leads. This is your networking. This is writing some sort of newsletter and sending it out to your database. This is about going to the grocery store and talking to people. This is about going to some sort of mixer or gathering where you get an opportunity to meet and generate leads. Now, the purpose of why you prospect is very simply to generate a lead. Now, if you recall, we define a lead as somebody who has expressed interest in doing business with you. So now, very logically, this is what you do. This is what you get. I prospect to generate a lead. Now I have to do something with that lead, and that is where I set an appointment. So I prospect, I generate a lead, and then I set an appointment with that lead. This is, again, what I'm doing, but what is the objective of setting that appointment? It's to achieve 3 things. You want to have a date, a time, and a place. Now, a lot of people take that for granted and say, "Oh, of course you got to get a date, time, and a place." Well, here's the reality. You could spend 2 weeks just doing these first 2 activities and then have the rest of the month completely filled up with money-making activities. Now, at this date, time, and a place, I have to show up and I have to do something. This is your presentation. Now, a lot of people don't have any sort of presentation. They like to wing it. They show up and they say things like, "Well, I'm going to go there and it's for a meet and greet." Here's my take on presentation. You have to be able to present what you do, your value proposition, in 3 ways. 1, you have to have it in PowerPoint, because sometimes you're going to get asked to go on stage. 2, you have to have it in some sort of prospectus, when some sort of flip chart or visual that you can show people what it is that you do. But the 3rd is by far the most valuable, powerful way to present. It's on the back of a napkin. And so a napkin drawing is in essence what I'm doing here. My whiteboard is my napkin. And so you have to be able to draw a picture in a very simple format to be able to explain what it is you do. Now, so I want you to imagine you're at a dinner and somebody to the left of you sitting down at dinner asks what you do. You can't pull out a PowerPoint presentation. You can't pull out a prospectus even on the sheet of paper or your laptop, but if you grabbed a napkin and you just wrote out what it is you did, it's an unintrusive, not invasive way of communicating value. So once you've done this, you do your presentation to achieve 3 things. The first one is to show that you're credible. You want to show them that you know what you're talking about. You're an authority in this area, and this is something that you are a person worth listening to. The next one is you want to differentiate yourself. Now, differentiation is a whole nother topic. A lot of people talk about differentiation as standing out. And I say, well, okay, then wear a clown suit. You're definitely going to stand out. But just because you're different doesn't mean you're valuable. I'm going to say that again. Just because you're different doesn't mean you're valuable. Differentiation is the ability to sell your product or service without having to lower its price. And so here we're building credibility, differentiation, and the last part of why you present is to gain trust. You want to be credible, differentiate yourself, and gain trust. Once you've achieved that, you can go on to the next activity, which is to close. Now, in mortgage and real estate, there is no close like you have in cookware or big sales where you pull out a sales order and people sign. There are many incremental closes to the relationship and activities that need to move things forward in the sales process. And so the close here is what I like to define as that moment where your conversion ratio surpasses around 80%. And usually this is around application time, or this is around taking a credit pull, those types of things. And so to be able to know that you've closed, you have to have what we call a signature or skin in the game of some sort. It has to cost money. Sometimes people close on appraisal fees, whatever it is, something that gets them committed to what it is that you're doing, and so that you can take that next step in the process. So we prospected to generate a lead. So set an appointment with that lead so we get a date, time, and a place, so we show up and do a presentation to be credible, differentiate, and gain the trust. Then we get the opportunity to close, where we get some sort of signature skin in the game. This is where a lot of people stop. They close and they don't do anything else. But this is one of the most critical points of the sales process, and it's what we call aftercare. The follow-up. This is the delivery of the promise, because here at the presentation you made a promise. This is what we're going to offer, this is what we're going to do, this is what you get. When you close, they bought in on your promise. Aftercare is when you fulfill your promise. If you promised service, give service. If you promised communication, communicate. This is the time where you make sure that they understand that they made the right choice. So the aftercare is critical. Now, the purpose of aftercare is to make your clients say one word. Just one word. You want them to say the word, wow. You want them to say the word wow. So what does that mean? A lot of people think wowing is expensive, costs money. But I'll give you an example. Back in the day when I used to own a mortgage company, we took 1003s applications by hand. And our loan officers were trained to look for wow moments. And I remember one time this woman, or a wife, was there with her husband and their young child, and she had a sleeve of Ritz crackers, and as they're taking the 1003, she kept handing a Ritz to her daughter. Her daughter would eat these things, and she'd answer the question and hand a Ritz, and she remembered saying, all she said was, I don't know what I would do without Ritz, because without these, I think I might go insane. And all my loan officer did was write the word Ritz at the top of the 1003. What do you think showed up upon closing at their house? You got it. It was a Costco-sized box of Ritz crackers with a simple note that says, congratulations on your new home. I hope this makes the next few days just a little bit easier. What do you think the client said? Wow. Once you've achieved that wow, you can then move into the last part, which is obviously asking for referrals. When you have wowed them, you've earned the right to ask for referrals. Now, here's the thing, and a lot of people say, why do we wait till the end? I'm not saying wait to the end. You can actually start prepping people to ask for referrals throughout the entire process. I am a big believer that you are much more likely to get referrals during a process than you are at the end. And in fact, you're doing this repeatedly throughout the sales cycle. You're constantly making promises, having them buy off, and you delivering, and then you can ask for a referral. Upon approval is a great time to ask for a referral because you've achieved a pretty big milestone. It hasn't funded yet, it's not over, so you really still have that good relationship going on. So once you ask for that referral, what do? Very simply, go back up and set an appointment with that referral. And here we began the perpetual sales cycle.